The TV show From has become a very important part of my life at this point. I see the characters in that show more than I see my own family. It's just the sad truth. I'm like an addict, man. I'm like a homeless person with fentanyl. So I just wanted to make this video to talk about the most prominent theories of season 1 through 3 of From, because theories are kind of what is like the lifeblood of this show. It runs on community theories. And I have forced my girlfriend at gunpoint to watch the show with me, so today we're going to go through the theories together. So the first theory, and probably the most prominent one, is that the town is an alternate reality slash purgatory, and their manifestations become reality. Which also kind of ties in, people also think that the characters are in a coma, or one of the characters are in a coma, and that the whole show is just a dream, because people love when shows and movies have that reveal. And there really is no evidence for this theory besides the fact that they're in a place that is inexplicable. Like, there's no explanation. That's really the only fuel for that conspiracy, is that nothing's explainable. So it could be supernatural, therefore it could be an alternate reality or a purgatory of sorts. And people have also tied like Nordic mythology into it and tried to weave that in to make the theory sound good. But I think the fact that Tabitha made it out to the real world at the end of season 2 kind of just flushes that theory down the toilet. And on the same vein as that theory about it being purgatory, there's also the theory that it could be a government experiment, which they bring up in the show. Jim and Randall says that the place could be just a government experiment, and they're testing to see how they'll react or whatever. And that all the people in there are actors, which some people think the new character Tilly is an actor, furthering, perpetuating the narrative by the government.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was a government experiment, they could theoretically mutate people into some monster creatures somehow, but they can't really change physics and time because they're drawing people from different states or all over the country into one spot.
I think that's another good, fun part of the show, is that they have a map in the sheriff's station of where everyone has came from, and nobody comes from the same place.
And the subreddit is just lots and lots and lots of arguing.
Yes. The subreddit is tons of arguing. People think they're right and everybody else is wrong. Which, my theory, the main theory, the hill that I'm willing to die on, is that Fatima, or Fatima, that some people call her, is going to have a monster baby. Or maybe that she herself's going to turn into a monster because of all the weird stuff she's been doing, the eating the rotten vegetables, eating someone else's blood and flesh, but just overall acting weird and hiding it from everybody, including her boyfriend Ellis. I think the most plausible thing is because she thinks she's pregnant. They obviously can't confirm it because they don't have medical equipment. But if she's pregnant, it's a demon baby, it's a monster baby, and it may kill her. And if she isn't pregnant, then she's turning into a monster herself, which explains these weird cravings and strange behavior that she's showing. But the Fatima theory is just kind of that. It's kind of a face value thing until we see more, which I'm assuming we will in season 5, or episode 5 that comes out tomorrow as of us recording this. But the next biggest theory is probably that the town, the citizen replacement theory, which I found this neat little list from the subreddit that user non-goddess 0 made, and they said they didn't include Martin, not sure he's dead, Smiley, unless Fatima gives birth or turns into a monster. And this is just a little spreadsheet here showing the total amount of deaths from the 3 members of the Pratt family that we see at the very beginning of the show to the arrivals of the 4 people on the ambulance, which happened in the latest episode where Tabitha comes back to Fromville for the second time on an ambulance with 3 other people, including Victor's dad, Henry. So yeah, I don't know the math. I don't know if it checks out 100% on this, but you can see that the deaths and the arrivals are roughly similar, which is what the whole replacement theory is about, saying that basically an eye for an eye. If someone dies, someone has to arrive.
People are saying that there has to be an upper limit, but there doesn't seem to be a lower limit because supposedly Victor was alone for how many years? So they don't necessarily have to have as many people, but they have like an upper limit where they can't have more than that.
It's a VIP exclusive members club. Only cool kids are allowed in. And another bit of lore for the town is that this isn't the first wave of people that have been trapped in there. as we've seen throughout the show, Victor was in like a previous cycle or whatever you want to call it from like, what was it, 1940 something? 1978, not 1940. And then in the caves, there are also paintings and dates written on the wall, 1979 being one of them. And then a previous one before that, which is 1840 something. I forget the exact date. I don't have it written down. But it's in the 1800s, which also loops into people saying that the monsters are previous residents of the town, which is why their clothing is dated, and that they're somehow trapped in this and turned into the monsters.
Yes, I think people are saying that everything in the town is like kind of 60s.
Yeah, because the main town that we see is it's like retro mid-90s design, but then they found that little like separate tiny town where the three of them, Jade and Christy and Kenny, are at in the current episode, which could date back to the 1800s people. But the ancient town theory is just basically that. All we have to go on that is just dates written on the wall and cave paintings that could, suggest earlier settlers. And we can segue from that theory to the Hive Mind theory. You're on the spot.
The Hive Mind theory, basically, people are claiming that the Hive Mind know everything, because in season 1, I think, when Jim and he got like the town to
the end of season 1,
they got Jim in the town to build like a big satellite type thing to try to get a radio connection to call for help. And then, of course, right as they finally got it to start working and everything was going great, there happened to be a huge storm that would have knocked it out if they didn't take it down. And then the voice on the radio that he connected with was seemingly from inside the town or some higher entity telling him something about his wife. Like, don't let your wife go down there.
Yeah,
she
your wife
be doing
shouldn't
that.
be digging, Jim.
And then later when he starts getting phone calls, talking about like, oh, what's the little boy's name? Their dead son? Thomas. Like, Dad, this is Thomas or something. And then Thomas calling Ethan on the phone saying that their mom is going to be there in the ambulance before they ever even got to the town.
Yeah,
so like things that they couldn't possibly know. Or the voices in Sarah's mind. Someone had a theory with the Hive Mind, since they know everything, how would they not have known people were hiding in the holes before they found the talismans? And people said it was maybe just them playing with their food, kind of, giving them a false sense of security, because if they know everything, then surely they would have to know when and where people are hiding.
And then I guess the final thing to talk about, so this video doesn't go on the length of a feature-length film, is why is there so many connections to Victor in the town? Because as we see whenever, I keep forgetting her name, Tabitha, whenever she goes out back into the real world from Fromville, she ends up meeting Henry, which is Victor's dad, and then she sees all of the connections from, Victor's life to the town, including the bottle tree, Victor's mom, and the paintings, and how she was connected to the town, and then how Victor and his mom ended up in the town. I just think it is fascinating how connected Victor is to the place. And that pretty much wraps. That's all I really wanted to say. I may make more theory videos or explaining videos of like episodes from this point on, but I wanted to just yap about Fromville theories. And I forced her. There's a gun being held to her head on the other side of the camera. You just can't see it. She's here against her will. She loves being here.
I love being here.
But other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.